So, nourish the path of nourish, and the word nourish is a reminder, but the path itself is where we are always in our life, and we're never in the wrong spot. So, like, kind of if we're working on ourselves in our life and we're looking at ourselves, we're always trying to get somewhere. Oh, when I finally get here, then this will be okay in my life. Or when I finally resolve all of these issues or whatever I'm living right now, I will finally become okay. But if we look at things like that, we never really get there, right? But if we're on the path of nourish, we're always in the right place because it's not like you're going forward, you're not going backwards, you're not going up, you're not going down, you're not going anywhere. You're just in the right place. And nourish to me means you're totally connected to yourself, body, mind, soul, and spirit. And you're in the right place because whatever's happening in our life at that moment is okay.
Welcome back to the Energy Fix podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. Today, we're going to be talking all about nourishment. And I'm not necessarily talking just about the nourishment that you physically feed your body. I'm talking about the nourishment that really comes with self connection and what happens when food becomes the place that we go to manage discomfort, to numb out, to soothe ourselves, control situations, or maybe even compensate for something in our life that feels like it is lacking. Because a lot of people can really look fine on the outside and still feel quietly tangled up with eating on the inside. Some people maybe even hide some of that emotional eating as well. Now, my guest today is Isabel Chiara, and she writes for the person who looks totally fine on the outside, but privately feels stuck in such a complicated relationship with food. She has spent decades studying holistic healing and behavior change, and her work has this beautiful, gentle, steady way of bringing you back to yourself, not bringing in the shame, not bringing in specific rules, not pretending that food isn't something emotional. She has created the Nourish app, and she has also wrote Nourish as an interactive book experience. So it's not just something that you read, it's something that you use to help you move forward. This is going to be such a great conversation and one that makes you feel comforted and maybe even one that makes you feel a little confronted, but in the best of ways. All right, Isabel, let's dive in. Welcome to the show.
Oh my God, what an amazing intro you just did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here. I can't wait for our conversation.
Yeah, me too. Well, before we hear all about you and where you have been and where you have been led to do this really important work that you're doing, I want to just kind of start right at the basic. I want to start with the word nourish. Now, you wrote a book and you have an app that are called Nourish. So
Right.
I want to hear about what that word really means to you and what you feel that people need to know when it means to truly be nourished deep into their body and their soul.
Oh my God. I'm so happy you started out with that question. So nourish came from I like to say it's a mantra and a path because it was this our lives, as we were growing up is kind of strugglesome. And when I came up with like, how can I put all this together? Because I was studying the healing arts and a lot of emotional kind of, um, therapies. And I studied everything just to get to the bottom of really what I was looking for was a big connection with myself. Right. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of all we have. So nourish the path of nourish, and the word nourish is a reminder, but the path itself is where we are always in our life, and we're never in the wrong spot. So, like, kind of if we're working on ourselves in our life and we're looking at ourselves, we're always trying to get somewhere. Oh, when I finally get here, then this will be okay in my life. Or when I finally resolve all of these issues or whatever I'm living right now, I will finally become okay. But if we look at things like that, we never really get there, right? But if we're on the path of nourish, we're always in the right place because it's not like you're going forward, you're not going backwards, you're not going up, you're not going down, you're not going anywhere. You're just in the right place. And nourish to me means you're totally connected to yourself, body, mind, soul, and spirit. And you're in the right place because whatever's happening in our life at that moment is okay. Right? Because, and this is part of the philosophy kind of that brought me here, food in the past, we say we're struggling with food and everything. That is the greatest gift we ever had for ourselves. Because if we felt emotional about anything, we had somewhere to go because we weren't going, a lot of times we weren't going to mommy or daddy, or we weren't going to, who were we we weren't going to anybody. We were going to food to let us feel okay. I mean, that is the greatest asset that we ever had for ourselves. So we can't judge anything that we have been in the past or anything we have done in the past. So nourish is just recognizing everything as, let's just, I mean, I'm just saying it right now, like an asset for ourselves, like something that is connecting ourselves to ourselves. And what could be the greatest thing that we're on that path? When I say that, I feel like there's a whole nother level of resonance that I can have in my life. Things start to happen because we're looking at it differently. We're not looking at it as bad or good. There's no more bad or good if you're on the nourish path. There's just what is, and I could say it's getting better, but we could say it's more resonant. It's more abundant, more, there's things that are coming into us that are showing up for us because we're allowing more space and more expansion for our path and for ourselves and allowing ourselves to be more of who we are. And we don't have
Yeah.
to go back and look for food to nourish us anymore. There's other things we can look at um, to nourish us, like just being and accepting ourselves in a whole nother way or looking at ourselves in a whole nother way.
Yeah.
And we start to feel that when we're on that path of nourish, we start to feel that we're okay. Like nourish to me is like you're okay inside and out. It's coming from the inside. You're good.
And that's such an expansive definition.
Hmm.
It's so encapsulating of all of this beauty that is within us.
Hmm.
But I do think that the word nourish or nourishment has gotten some negative connotation too. So, what do you think the collective definition of nourishment has historically been? And where has this definition either helped us or actually harmed us?
Well, I think that for me, I think that my concept it's way beyond food.
Yeah.
Collectively in the past, it's been about, do we feel nourished? Are we getting nourished by food? Like very specific.
It's like it takes the soul out of it.
Oh yeah, I like that what you just said. Yeah, it takes the
Yeah.
soul out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nourishment is on, like, let's just say you eat healthy. Everybody eats health. A lot of people eat healthy all day long. They still don't feel nourished because it's like conditional healthy eating, right? It's conditional. It's like I can have this, this, and this. We always say people say, "Oh, I had a cup of coffee," and all of a sudden that their nourishment's out the drain, or how they feel about themselves is out the drain just because they had one cup of coffee. If that's the thing that is the bad thing in their life, so that's why. It's not even like it's not even about food. Nourishment's not even about food. It's really about how you feel in relation and and respective of things that are happening in your life, the relationships you're having, and the conversations that you're having with yourself, really. And
Mm,
the more we look at it, the conversations start to change of what's happening and what we're saying to ourselves, which is, I know it's one of the major concepts that you talk about. What conversations are we having with ourselves?
mhm,
Because that is what's leading us. So what if everything we had was perfect? Everything we ate was perfect. Everything that happened in our life was perfect because we attracted and we're resonant with that type of behavior in our life. And it gave us the opportunity to look at something else or change direction in our life. That's really noticing that and having a conversation about that is really what's nourishing our soul, our body, mind, and spirit.
yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
It's big. It's
it
really, really
is.
big.
It is for such a small, commonly used word. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Isabel, I want to hear about your story. What was
Mhm.
your early relationship with food, and what were you actually seeking in those moments when you used food to get through something?
Well, like I said, thank God I had food, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I came from immigrant parents that, their life was about food. Oh, it's in the restaurant business, by the way, too. So it was really, and I'm sensitive. I was a sensitive person, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was a concept. So I would tell myself, stop being so emotional. Stop being so sensitive. I would command these feelings. And what happens when you start ordering yourself around or demanding of yourself? You do it more, right? That behavior that you're trying to stop, um, you actually kind of do it all the time. So, yeah, so we I grew up in the restaurant business and it was just chaotic and we were always like it was business first and I like that part of me a lot. That I like to look at things as like entrepreneurial and creative um but and it was an interesting fast paced life. And sometimes energetically, that fast pacedness that you bring to yourself is, you're kind of taking yourself on a whirlwind ride all the time. And not only that, I became used to that whirlwind ride. Like, fast, it had to be really quick, it had to be really fast. And then if I had a down moment, it was what would I do with my down moments? I had to keep filling it up with something. And I never ever entertained the word nourishment at that point in my life. But those down moments when you need to keep filling yourself, it's like filling, stuffing. What's the difference, right? And and so that became a big cycle in my life. But it also was a cycle that I was learning. Like in that, I became this avid learner of like different modalities of how to shift behaviors, change behaviors, this spiritual healing, this spiritual modality. So I did it all. I learned it all. I traveled all over the world to find something outside of myself, which, I knew it kind of had to be an internal thing, but that was too much of a whirlwind ride. So it became something that I looked for, searched for outside of myself. But I have to say, just in the last 3 or 4 years is when I started switching and going, oh my God, this is such an internal process of really looking at myself, looking at the words I speak to myself, looking at how I have relationships around me, looking at all of that. So, that was what I came up with. Like, I was looking for resolution, and even when I started to write the books, I was like, "I can't put this out there because" here's the last book, Nourish. "I can't put this out there because I didn't resolve the issue yet." You know? So, I was like, I just can't," but then I realized it wasn't a one and done type of a thing, it's a process. And the process is what starts to nurture you. S- You we start to become more compassionate with ourselves, more loving toward ourselves, and I think that like you can feel that when you start to the things that affected us in life and we start to be compassionate that maybe it didn't work out still. Maybe it's still not working out is like it kind of touches your heart when you have compassion for yourself on this whole other level. And I went back to the times. That's why I created that app too. I went back to all those times when I didn't feel one bit of compassion for myself. Oh, you're good at interviewing, I swear to God. You got me to say a lot of things here. I'm not going on and on. Anyways, I went back to the points where I didn't feel any compassion, for myself when I never did. And now I'm like touching my own heart because I am, feeling that finally in my life, which is like a big, oh my God, aha moment. And what a better thing for a gift for anybody to be following a path like this and be on this path and come to the point where they love themselves, you know, a lot more than they ever did. I don't want to
Yeah.
say 100% unconditionally because that's really hard to get to, but it's
Mm.
possible. And as long as we're there and that's where we're heading to, it's amazing.
Yeah. First off, I love this emotion because this is where the juice is really squeezed out of
Yeah.
really great interviews when
Mhm.
you can feel that and when that's translated through the airwaves, right? But I want to highlight a few things that you just said. You talked about you needed more compassion and you needed more love that you were giving to yourself. I think that when we get so used to living in whatever the fast paced life scenario is for you it was a restaurant, but
Mhm.
that could be anything, right? Like when we get so used to living in that fast pace, we are not being fully connected. And when
Right.
we're not fully connected, we start to disconnect and you automatically start to look outside of yourself for something else that is going to give you the compassion, that is going to give you the love, that's going to give you the self acceptance. And for so many people, because of everything that goes with it, memories and the nutrient satiety, all that stuff, like there food becomes so often that almost like that loving parent
Oh, yeah.
that is just there to give you a hug at the end of a really long day.
Right. It is a loving parent and it's non-judgmental,
And it's non-judgmental. Exactly.
right? It makes you feel happy for the moment.
Hmm.
Like you feel deliciously happy,
Yeah.
for the moment. And then it's just after, you eat and you put yourself in food coma that you say, oh my God. And we start to judge that. I mean, I think it was only like a year ago when I said, oh my God, like I said it before, thank God I had that. Like, thank God, because it could have been any kind of it could have been anything. Um, it could have been drink, it could have been
Yeah.
something else, it could have been anything. And, we were fortunate enough to have that, to choose to like we knew better. On some level, we know better. We are choosing something to help us feel okay, but we don't really know what we're looking for. You said compassion is we don't know we're looking for compassion. We don't know. We're not looking, we don't say, oh my God, I'm looking for love, so I'm going to eat food. We don't say that. I wish somebody loved me, so I'm going to eat. We just don't do that. So,
Yeah. What do you find when it comes to emotions or categories like this? What do you find people typically ignore until they're depleted? I mean, it could be completely subconscious, but are there certain emotions that you find usually trigger people a little quicker than others? I don't know. I'm just
Well, for
curious.
sure. Yeah, for sure, anger.
Yeah.
Because even though I think of anger, well, first of all, in our family, anger was acceptable, but in a lot of families, it's not.
Mm.
So if they're holding that in and they feel this bubble explosion of anger that's about to come up, and then they tell themselves, I can't say anything, that's like, I don't even know. I mean, that's like a behavior that's, I mean, thank God I was able to say, I'm pissed off at this, but it usually was in an explosive way. Like, because
Mhm.
there's ways to do different emotions, I never learned that you could say, "Hey," you could create a boundary. Well, let's talk about boundaries for a second, right? You can create a boundary with somebody and said, "Hey, you know what? That didn't feel good to me." I never even thought of saying like something like that in my opinion. Like they would have laughed at me. So I would never have said, "Hey, that didn't feel good to me." I thought they knew. But I made them. But you make your parents right. And another thing is, you start to make yourself wrong.
Yeah.
So now you're like double dosing yourself because we're now wrong. Like we don't. We start to not trust how we think. So now we're thinking, oh my God, should I say this or should I say this? How are they going to react? So now you're managing other people's emotions outside of yourself, right? Because you don't know how people are going to react. Okay. So, and forget hurt and disappointment. Just forget any of that. Like, I didn't even entertain any of that. It just turned into anger, right? Anger's cover up for all of those other emotions. So, that's the thing. I find a lot of people have a lot of disappointment in life. And and I know this because I mean I have so many people around me that I never knew what that really was. Disappointment. And so but I've been listening to a lot of people lately and they talk about that. And I think that if you're not able to let a lot of emotion out and you're not able to speak about it, then you become disappointed in like the people around you and yourself, which I think that's a really big thing too. That kind of feel. I mean, we could be hurt, but but I don't know. I think disappointment's like another. How do you keep? How do you keep How do you keep entertaining disappointment in your life? Like, how does that play out for somebody? Where you expect, because I think that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that, oh, I'm going to be disappointed. At some point, you expect disappointment. And if
Mm.
you expect disappointment in your life, you're always going to get it. It's not like it's not going to be a new thing because even if it looks good, like you walk into it and it looks really, really good, at the end of the day, there's going to be something disappointing about it. It's not going to have that overall abundant, like, okay, it's like everything was great, but that one thing, and then it becomes a whole disappointing, chapter for us, you know.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, why do you think a lot of people have all this disappointment? But, as you started talking, I think maybe like one, two, three, a handful of experiences, and all of a sudden they get stuck in this loop. And
Yeah,
now they're training and they have neural pathways in their brain that are
exactly.
just driving right down into the disappointment channel.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the people around you. I like how you just said the neural pathways. I love that because I think once we form beliefs and we form it like a couple of times, we start to look at things as whatever that belief is, the disappointment thing. You're right. It does become ingrained in our brain in the form of neural pathways. So we create all that, right? So we
Yeah.
create these specific triggering situations for us that we had when we were children too. Like, um, uh, different things that happen in relationships, that let's just say it's a person that's always walking away from you. Let's just talk, it's about a person that's always walking away from you. So you start to see it in your eye, your brain starts to tell you to see it. So you begin to see that type of behavior, like whenever you're talking to somebody, whenever you're in an argument, you see somebody walking away from you. Okay, then you start to create this thing like, oh, if I say what I want in life, if I tell somebody how I feel in life and they're walking away from me, then that's what happens. Like it's a fact in life, so we have that neural pathway that you were just speaking about,
Yeah.
right? So anything can become a neural pathway. So it's our job, like our consciousness, our acknowledgement to notice, like, okay, no, I just saw it happening one time. It doesn't mean that that's really the truth. That's not really how people behave. Let's go into another pool of people where people stay there and listen to us. So that was another thing I started noticing. I started creating this other where I'd answer myself, like I respond to myself. And I would say, okay, I have this pattern going on, like if I'm in an argument, the people are walking away. Let's just say that's the pattern. And then I would say, nope, I'm now talking to people that are sitting there and listening to me, and it's a step by step process. So you start to look out in the world and you start to see people listening to you.
Mhm.
And then you're starting to create, what we're really doing is creating another neural pathway,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Which is so, like, it's like one of the main things I talk about in this path of nourishment, that let's create what we're wanting. Like, what do we want from it? Because we're so busy. No, this always happens. This always happens to us. This is how people act. Have you listen to people that like, oh, they reject, like, a lot of people like, oh, they rejected me. They must hate blah, 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 girls with black hair, or they must hate, people with ponytails, or whatever the story is, correct? And then we make that a story, and then we start to say, oh, I'm wearing my ponytail today, and like people are like, treating me, rejecting me, So I'm just saying, it could be anything. I'm
Yeah.
giving you a ridiculous statement because that's how ridiculous things could be,
Yeah.
even though it looks real on the outside.
Yeah, because our brains make it feel real. It makes
Yeah,
it feel very, very real. That's why you could have two people having the exact same experience, but
yeah,
depending on their wounds, traumas, hurts, perceptions, whatever it is, they could have two completely different experiences. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And they'll see it totally different.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like, I remember I was in this class and this guy was talking so loud, and I was like, he's yelling at him. And everybody else in the class that was sitting there, and I was so like traumatized by it, by the way he was talking to this guy. And I said to the person next to me, and I go, oh my God, I can't believe he's yelling at him in front of everybody and everything. And he looked at me and he goes, what are you talking about? He's not yelling at him. He's explaining the process. And I go, he's screaming at him in front of all of us. He goes, no, that wasn't happening for anybody else but me.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm curious, your book, Nourish, what made you write that book right now? And what was the gap that you saw in the conversation around eating and healing that you felt like you needed to address and to get out into the world? Like, what was that reasoning of putting that out there and just knowing it had to get into people's hands?
Well, like I said before, there was no resolution to my relationship with food. I didn't have a
Mm,
resolution where I was like, okay, today I'm gonna, because I'd wake up every morning and start a new diet. Wake up
yeah.
every morning and say, okay, today I'm only gonna eat blah blah blah, lettuce and whatever. Like, and knowing that that wasn't even the right thing, and by 1 o'clock I would be eating whatever I wanted, because you can't tell yourself what to do, like, in a demanding way like that. I'm not gonna listen. I don't listen to other people talk to me like that. Why would I listen to myself?
Yeah.
Talk to myself like that? Like, never. Um, so, um, I had to just be okay with where I was at, and the the resolution that I came up with in my own mind was how I related to myself.
Mm.
And so that was like the word nourish, came to me like almost in a spontaneous, like, okay, it's like you never feel, we never feel nourished. We never feel okay, so I needed to feel okay about wherever I was at. So I had to start with being okay with wherever I was at. By starting to, you first just start, like, you fake it till you make it,
Mm.
kind of a deal. So I would tell myself, okay, you're okay. Like, okay, oh, you did that? And I would go back and judge myself and I would say, okay, no, that was great. I would start to like be like this parent, how there's like some parents that are like, that was so good. Like that wasn't my childhood, but I did that to myself. I started saying that to myself. Like every time I did something, I had to go the whole other direction. I go, that was so great what you did. Blah, blah, blah. Even though it was like a screw up or whatever, I had to start to look at everything as like, oh, not so bad. Great, good, fantastic. So I was like I had to be my own cheerleader, on some level. And
Almost relearning self-respect.
yeah, yeah, relearning, how to, like, you're parenting yourself. You're
Yeah,
really
yeah.
parenting yourself. And I had to start looking at like all of the, because through the years I was so judgmental on myself. I had to start I went back to a lot of things and I go, well, that was good because look at what I did after that. Or this was good. Look at what I did, and I had to go back and look at all of those things. And instead with non-judgy eyes, right? With eyes of like glistening gold, I call it, right? Yeah, that like it was great. So that was the gap that was missing. So I got to I got to live that till I started to really think that way. And and it's not a one, like I just said, it's not a one and done path, right? So we go backwards, right? And we start living that life where, oh, that was not good. That was, why did you do that? Judging ourselves again. So we go back and it's funny how you fall back so quickly, or maybe we're just in the notice of it. It's really just to be in the notice of how we speak to ourselves and notice of how we relate to ourselves. And so the more we see that, it's the more we are able to, kind of flow on this path, and we change the way we think. And we could walk into situations. This was another thing I was experimenting with. I'd walk into situations where I used to be fearful. And I would say, okay, I'm going to walk into this room with all these people in it that I don't know. That's a very triggering thing for a lot of people. And I'm going to connect with 2 or 3 people in the room. I'm going to have this great connection. I'm going to make a friend or two. So I would like create, because you know what, we're creating in our mind all the time. Right. So I would create another scenario, totally opposite of what we're doing. And then I noticed it was really working a lot of times. No, I'd walk into situations. I felt confident. I felt happy. So we could tell our brain and our emotions to like walk in and be confident and be happy. I know a lot of people think that we get to say that we have to accept how we're feeling in that moment. But what if we create the moment first? And then, and the feeling, we create that feeling of how we want to feel in that moment. And we just go into the moment feeling that exact beautiful way we want to feel.
Mm.
I mean, it's to the point right now, just so people have something to look forward to if they're on this nourishing path. I wake up and create a lot of beautiful emotional highlights in my day, you know, like, I'm going to go here. Oh, I'm going to go to my office and it's going to be great. I say that now. I mean, it's kind of like you did it sarcastically, but it's not. It became a reality,
Mm.
right? I or I walk into like a place of business, and I would be basically here's a really good one. Basically, I walk into a store And I talk to everybody now. I was like, I never ever walked into a store. I'd be like hiding myself and not talking to anybody and blah, blah, blah. Now I walk into a store and I think like, first I think it's kind of my store. And I connect with whoever, like if I'm shopping next to somebody, I'm like, hey, so what do you think of this? Or, what do you think of, you know? So it's fun for me to go out and speak to people now. Whereas
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just go in. I don't need to go out, but they could do it anywhere you're at.
Yeah. Well, Isabel, as you were talking, I started thinking to myself, because I know I have fallen into this before. So I'm really curious what you have to say. How do you start building from non judgy eyes, as you said, and self respect practices when it feels so emotionally hard, especially if you are a sensitive, like a highly sensitive person, or an identifies as an empath, or, you know, it, it can be really scary
Right.
to have to fear that judgment, even if it's from yourself. Like,
Right.
how do you navigate that?
Right. You're right. Um, well, first make the decision to do it. And
Yeah.
know you have to have a knowing that it's going to change and it's going to shift for you.
Because we're always making decisions, right? We're either
Yeah.
deciding to do it or to not do it.
Right.
Yeah, you're
Or you're going to
right.
fall into you want to be the way you always have been, or you want to have a change in your life. So
Yeah.
you
Mm.
decide, okay, I'm going to go on this nourishing path. And you decide that everything's going to be nourishing to you no matter what. Let's just say you fall and you judge yourself like 20 times that day, but notice the 10 times you didn't. So if you never did any kind of non-judgmental stuff for judging yourself, then you had 10, then right, you get to look at that like, okay, I'm successful because I had 10 versions of me applauding myself and allowing myself to be free and loving myself and not, like I was cool with myself. So, and then the next day you wake up again, you go, okay, today I'm going to be like, notice 20 times where I'm talking, nice to myself. I swear to God, it shifts really easily because when you notice it means you're in the moment of shift also. Right. If you start to notice like all of a sudden, oh, I was judgmental today. Oh, I was judgmental today. Then that means you're in the middle of shifting it because you're noticing that behavior that you're trying to shift.
Yeah. Awareness is so
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The awareness of that. And so it changes really quick. I have to say it changed really quickly because I remember deciding that that was probably a really important step for me on this path. And then I remember I started to do it. And then I got frustrated with myself, of course, because I was like, oh, I judged myself 20 times. And then I said, okay. But I had to keep going because it was like I decided to do it already. So I had to keep going. And I went and I kept going. And now I pretty much um, am able to really stay in that. But it's not perfect. It never is. There's no like, I'll never judge myself again. There isn't that. But if you can live with yourself by noticing that you are applauding yourself a little bit more, or you're noticing the great things that you're doing, or noticing that everything you do is so amazing, and you start to live in that energy, then you start to bring in more of that energy for yourself, and you bring in more possibilities, and you bring in more amazing scenarios for yourself. That's what I love the best about it, that you
Mm.
bring in situations that are, you want to pinch yourself because it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening for me, because you're in that kind of resonance.
Yeah.
It's a
How
new vibration.
how does all this play in to the concepts of different energy healing? So, I'm staying on the whole concept of like highly sensitive people or empathic people, right? We can pick up on a lot of heavy energies that we think are our own. And then we start to act out And maybe we are emotionally eating, maybe we are expressing a lot of anger that we're not taking, like all of these things can happen. So when it comes to that outside influence of heavier energies, how do you start to determine, or how have you seen to start to determine which is yours, which isn't yours, and like what you can actually let go so that you can get to the root of your true awareness to be able to decide what shift you want to make?
Okay. Wow. That's a loaded question.
It is, yes.
Well, my thought when you started speaking was, um, I guess it doesn't matter if it's yours or not because you
Mm,
put yourself, you're in that situation. So on some level, your awareness is in that heavy situation. On,
yeah.
why? Right. So I look at it like,
Oh, that's good.
why did it, yeah, like, why am I there? Like, why did I just do this again? It's usually
Yeah.
like again, right? And so why? We get to investigate it for ourselves. And we could say at that point, say, okay, you know what? It's not resonating with me. Maybe it's the last time I'm in that situation. Maybe I just need to have one more last experience. Or maybe this time we acted differently. Like maybe this time we didn't stay in it as long and, get all emotional about it, get all sensitive about it. And we're like, okay, here it is. I got it. I can move forward now. I got it. I see it. It triggered me. Okay, let me give my little girl some compassion. Let me look at it differently. So we could just be in it, but we don't have to stay in it. I think the difference is staying in it versus being in it for a long time, right? Because usually if something's bothering, I know if something was bothering me in the past, it'd be like 2 weeks. Oh, and by the way, when we tell the story to 5 of different people, all we're doing is embedding the story in our tissues, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Right? And
Yes.
people say, "No, I'm not. I'm just talking about it." And I go, "Every time you talk about it, you're talking about it differently, and it's like prominent inside of you. It's like you're living it in your head." Especially if you're a visual person, like we're sensitive. Maybe sensitive people are more visual, right? And that's why they're really feeling things. And, even though they could feel things, maybe they're seeing it also.
Yeah.
I was thinking that that might be part of the equation also.
And visualization is
Mhm.
one of the very powerful manifestation techniques too, Isabel.
Totally.
So
Totally.
not only are you seeing it, speaking it, feeling it,
Right.
now all of a sudden you're manifesting it.
Exactly. Actually,
Oh,
I started out doing visualization. That was one of the first people I studied with was
yeah.
Shakti Gawan. Do you know who she
Um,
is?
I don't know.
She wrote the book in the like 70s
Yeah.
on creative visualization. She was the
Ah,
first person I studied. I'm all about that. It's so powerful of a tool. They have other names for it now, different kind of viewings, but it is the most powerful tool. And we
mm,
keep doing that. We're actually visualizing our outcomes. Don't you agree? Like we're
mhm.
visualizing how we're visualizing, like if we're getting in an argument, we're visualizing if we're losing or winning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, I got to just throw this out here because we do have on this podcast, we have a lot of people that do have some neurodiversion going on. All right. And so I got to say this because a lot of those kind of brains love to ruminate. We love to think about the way the conversation is going to go. We love to visualize how it's going to go. And
Right.
essentially, a lot of the times we're creating the outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What a
Oh,
disservice.
man.
It's kind of a disservice to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Unless we're shifting it to how we would like it to be.
Yeah. That's so good.
Like, "Ooh."
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to go forward, we get to move forward and decide, how our day is gonna. I mean, I know there's people that plan their day, no, 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 but do they plan how they're gonna react with people, or they
Mm,
plan how they're gonna feel throughout their day?
mm,
I mean, I know that's kind of like a far-fetched concept because people think, or a lot of people would say, "Oh, I only can think, I only can think how I feel, or I feel how I think." But what if we did it? oppositely. We're going to situations where we almost visualize and experience how we want to feel. And then we have that other kind, and we visualize another outcome for ourselves where we're
Yeah.
smiling and we're happy and we're excited.
Mm. Yeah. As you just said that, that feels like such a powerful pattern interrupt and way to shift some of the conversation even around food. I mean, you said, do we actually plan how we're going to react to people? And I would guess that pretty much everybody sitting here is like, no, I don't plan how I react, right? I only plan what I'm going to do throughout the day. I got my 3 things on my to-do list that are my priorities, and then I got all the other things, all that stuff that we're taught. But when it comes down to the reaction, if we even shifted that a little bit and we're like, okay, I know I'm going to be around so and so, or if I get into a traffic jam today, I know that typically I start to get road rage. What am I going to do differently this time? I mean, how powerful can that shift be?
Hmm. Right. Well, I got
Yeah.
a lot of things I do during traffic myself.
Same.
I used to be the worst at road rage. I used to be like, I'm getting out of the car, you know, but I don't do that anymore. I'm like, because you know what? This is what I came up with the road rage thing. I said, did that guy even know he's affecting us? No, they don't even know. They're just driving along and they, what, maybe cut in our lane a little bit or like, what did they really do? Like, are they like driving at us? They're not. They're not doing that. They're just maybe came in our lane. So they don't really know. People don't know what they're doing. People don't really know how they're affecting other people. They're just
Yeah.
doing their own thing. And then we were like, oh, did you see what they did to us? But what did they do to us? They don't even know they don't know what they did. And we're making it about something it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous conversation in our head. And we're reacting to something that's didn't really happen
Yeah.
the way we thought it happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just to put in perspective road rage.
Yeah.
Right.
This all really comes down to the whole concept. I mean, everything we're talking about is about bringing more compassion to yourself and also more accountability, right? Like those two play hand in hand here. How do you help someone be gentle without letting themselves off the hook in a way that just keeps the cycle perpetuating over and over again?
Well, I never said letting yourself off the hook because we got to look at it. We get to look at everything. We don't
Hmm.
have to make up a story about it, but we could say, "Hey, this is how this affected us, and why did it affect us like that?" I mean, we don't. It doesn't have to be a scientific experiment, with the whole theory of relativity, but it could be just that if that happened. Oh, and it happened like a couple of days ago, and it happened here. So this is like the third time it happened. So let's just take a little look at this and see what I believe about this that's affecting me. Like, what do I think the other person did? Or what do I think I did? Or like, what is that? Could it be? And then I look for another meaning in it. Like, could it be something else? Could it be that the other person didn't know that they insulted me? Or could it be, or could it be that maybe I don't need to be in this environment anymore? It could be that you're done with another behavior that you've been in and that it's time to go. And it's a boundary. It was the boundaries I was talking about. Like, I don't need that behavior anymore. I don't need that to show me in the face anymore what I need to, like, so I could feel bad about myself. And I don't need to feel bad about myself because somebody else had an opinion about me. So
Yeah.
we get to there's like a bunch of questions that we can ask in the middle of any of these patterns or any of these things that are showing up for ourselves. But I
Mm.
didn't say, but we get to look at it because what do we do? We can't allow it to just keep happening to us. It's going to turn into another really dig in pattern in our, affect our, we're trying to change our vibration. We're trying
Mm.
to feel
Yeah.
nourished in our life, so let's look at it and just move on. That's my Nourish app. I did that because a lot of things have stemmed from how we look at things and from our childhood. And I have so many I have 12 really, really good, um, I call them activations, but uh, they're visual guided manifesting visualizations that will take you through a path and really, really heal the way you're looking at something.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think that any kind of food or physical body health and healing practices work so well when we can really activate and ground into the mind shifting and pattern or repatterning. Do you know what I mean? And I think
Yes.
that those like meditations like that and activations have been so helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we find ourselves, like I have a couple of, I have, you know, uh, one of the, one of the, in my nourishing app, one of the guided meditations is healing family dynamics. And it takes you through like the family and, how you looked at things. And then you could at that point say, oh, because you made these decisions as a child. Right? So if you made decisions as a child and now you're an adult, you'll be like, okay, why did I say that? Why did I make that up? Because you kept
Mm.
repeating that same kind of pattern for yourself. Um, so it's time we could heal it, and then I have another one called safe and sound
Mm.
where we could feel, where maybe we didn't feel safe as a child. And in order to feel safe, we had to do something. What it is, I don't know, right? We don't I don't know what people decided to do, but we could shift that and say, "I am safe," because we're probably on some level carrying that non-safeness with us, and um, we react to things before it even plays itself out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that pattern when it comes to the food side of it. What is your best tool for catching the pattern right before someone starts to reach for the food to soothe and numb or to check out or whatever they're doing to distract themselves? How can they catch that pattern first?
So, a lot of times, I think that I think you start out with as you're doing it. You say, "Okay, something's going on," and then you give yourself permission to eat,
Mm.
whatever it is. Why would we don't feel great, so we can have something to eat, right? I think what happens is eventually, as we give ourselves permission, we start to notice that we don't really need to do it all the time. Because we need to eat. Right? So we say, "Okay, I know," this is what I did, and I say, "I'm gonna neutralize." I would say I'm gonna neutralize different food groups for myself. So that's what I started to do. Like, I started neutralizing, chocolate for
Mhm.
myself because I was like, a fiend with that, and so I said, "Okay, I'm gonna have the chocolate. I feel terrible. I'm gonna have the chocolate." Da, da, da. So I would, instead of beating myself up, I would say, "I'm having it." So that's the first step. Just have it. And then don't say anything to yourself afterwards. Say, I had it. I needed it. It's okay. It's kind of like we're setting up a new scenario for ourselves, a new conversation. So allow yourself to be okay. And then eventually, like that thing becomes, and then it's a particular food thing too, like, is it the crunchy Doritos type of a thing also? And, if you're angry, you would kind of want Doritos. If
Mm.
you're feeling like unsafe, maybe you want some creamy, like something like that. So it depends on what it is. I kind of went into different types of foods. But the chocolate one was because um, you had a drop in your insulin because
Mm.
something, upset you so much and you need some kind of a sugar
Yeah.
fix right away. But, but let yourself have it. And then eventually it's like, you know what? maybe I'll just have like eventually you'll say it, but it's not like you're telling yourself to say it. It's gonna and eventually come naturally. Naturally, it'd be like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna have a bite or two,
Yeah.
which I never thought would happen for me. I never ever believed that, but that's what kind of started happening until I went to the point where I was like, do I really like chocolate? You know, I got to that point, and so now I don't even have it, which is like crazy in itself. Because if you asked me 2 years ago, I would have been like, no, don't take my chocolate away. But it's not. I really don't have chocolate anymore. So, and I think it's a I call it neutralization, where I'm like, okay, and it's kind of like a feeling too that I
Mhm.
create when I'm eating it. Like, it's not doing it for me. It's not really making me feel like, so it's like I'm taking the opposite of what I thought my brain was thinking. Oh my God, it's like the best thing ever. Like I need it. But then I got to the point where, all right, it's not like really cutting it here anymore. So I don't know if I interjected the feeling into the chocolate, which is really kind of what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
interjecting your feelings into the food, right? So
Yeah.
now you interjected another feeling into the food, which is like I call it a neutralization of the food.
Mm. Ooh,
And
I
then I
love
would
that.
see myself, the visual started to become, oh, like it's in front of me. I would see the thing in front of me and then I'd be like, oh, it doesn't, I don't want it. So it took, this is like the little chain that kind of happens. So first you allow yourself to have it, then you start to look at it and say, is it really doing it for me? And then you start to look at it visually and see yourself not grabbing it or not wanting it. And then you associate the feelings in your um, belly or the feelings in your mind as, look, I don't want it. So you start to have this new visual of not wanting that food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing that nobody told you can neutralize food, right?
No, that is very interesting, amazing.
Yeah.
It's funny as you were talking, I was thinking, for years and years and years, whenever there was family functions or family picnics or any kind of family dynamic, my family kind of stresses me out at times. And so whenever we would have these functions, I would
Yeah, I'm
load
sure
up.
none of them watch your program.
I know I'm a
They're
little
not your
concerned.
audience.
I'm a little concerned. No. No, but like every time we would have these functions, I would go hard into all the desserts. I would just sit and eat and eat and eat and eat because for me, it was soothing me. It was comforting me. It gave me something to do because I was a little bored. There was just so much that it did for me until it got to the point where I'm like, I feel terrible afterwards. I don't feel good. I feel bloated. I get exhausted. I have the sugar crash. Why am I doing this? This is so dumb. But
Hmm.
that wasn't what stopped me. What
Hmm.
stopped me was actually stepping back and saying, I am going to re-question this. Why am I really doing this? And I'm going to do a pattern interrupt. And I'm instead of if I want to go to the dessert table, you know what? I'll walk by it. I'm just going to look to see what they have. And maybe this time I will do just half of what I typically do. Or
Hmm.
maybe I will do one sweep through and then I'm going to go and just like walk around the building, walk around the pavilion or whatever it is or wherever we were and just do like a little, or maybe I'll go play one of the games that they have, right? Something just to change it up because I realized that that neural pathway was like family,
Right.
situation, eat. That was
Right.
what I
It's
was
really
doing.
kind of what it is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a great app for that.
Yeah.
Great thing. It's called Healing Family Dynamics.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And we get to look at that. But you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. I mean, a lot of people have that, you
Yeah.
know, like, what is it that why are we reacting? Yeah.
Yeah.
So once we start to take that apart,
Yeah.
that's
Very
good.
powerful
We can
stuff.
start to neutralize all of these
Yeah.
activities
Yeah.
that we play out in our life.
Now, I know you have a full background in herbalism, and so I'm really curious. With everything we've talked about today, we've talked about, you know, rewriting some of the neural pathways. We've talked about different ways to rescript and to think about what it is that you're doing. I'm curious because I know the power of herbs. I'm curious if there is any recommendations or herbs or techniques in herbalism that you think are super helpful in the shifting and the transitioning of some of the things that we talked about today.
Hmm. Wow. I never thought about that. I mean, I really take oh, you know what I like to note? I like to see what herbs are growing around me,
Mm,
right? Like during COVID, like in my yard, I had
yeah.
mullein,
Ooh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
for lungs.
Yeah.
And it was outside and there was so much of it. And I was like, oh, like how did mullein know to come here? And it was COVID time. Like, how did it know?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
What
was to me interesting.
what are some of the comforting herbs? Because I know one of my favorite things to do in the evening is have a nice comforting tea. What are some of the comforting herbs that you have found that maybe can offset some of these either desires to dive for sweets, maybe it helps to stabilize your blood sugar, or things that help to calm down and have more of a calming effect?
Um, I take like I like that stuff in the morning. Like I like to put cinnamon and
Mm,
stuff in the morning. Um, and
for blood sugar stabilization,
yeah,
you mean?
just stabilize.
Mhm.
And that Gemina Sylvester, do you know what
Mm.
that is?
I don't know.
It's another thing that calms blood sugar, balances your blood sugar.
Oh.
Yeah. At night I just like, which I never, just to help you sleep, of course, the old standby chamomile.
Mhm,
I found this really good combination of, I also take homeopathic drops
mhm.
and mix them in um, with some of the teas also at night. I can't really remember what, uh, I like to mix, like, during the day, I like to mix, like, fennel.
Mm,
Like, I have fresh fennel in my yard, I like to mix that with, during the day, and anise. I'm growing
yeah.
anise right now. I just love those flavors, um, of, what else at night? Um,
If you want wild dreams, you could drink you could have
what
some mugwort.
mugwort.
Yes,
Okay, I actually do mugwort. I have a lot growing
so do I.
outside of that. I throw it in a bath too.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I think mugwort, like, so mugwort grows wild around here.
Mhm.
Does it grow wild where
It
you are
does.
also?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like it's very purposeful, that
yeah.
herb. I think it's uh also, doesn't it get rid of a lot of bacteria and
It might, I'm not 100% sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here talking. I have like rows, and I have drawers and drawers full of herbs, and I make like I mix them with oils, and I mix it with I make tinctures out of it, and
Yeah.
just whatever I find, I'm mixing like something together. I
Yeah.
just went to I was just on Mount Etna in Italy, and
Oh,
it was erupting, and we went on a hike up the thing, and we had a guide, and I stopped and I go, "Oh my god, there's hawthorn." Oh, I take hawthorn at night too, by the way, for the heart.
yeah. Yeah.
There's hawthorn on the top of this mountain? And there was bilberry, which
Oh,
is that yellow, um, thorn, growing on the all over the mountain, all over the
wow.
mountain. It was all like a field of yellow. I'll
Wow.
send you a picture later. It was amazing,
Wow.
how that was growing all over the mountain. So I just think that it's like kind of from the ash
Yeah.
of the burning ash, you
Wow.
know? Yeah. So
Wow.
herbs are phenomenal. And I think that when they make medicine, what they do is they take the different parts of the herb that are what's the functional part of the herb. But I think the plant, you need the whole plant in order to have it give you the effects of the plant. I don't think
Yeah.
you could take the different parts of it aside. and have that
Yeah.
be the thing that's, um, healthy or healing you.
Well, Isabel, as we start to wrap this up, before we get to the questions, the three rapid fire questions that I want to ask you, I'm just curious if somebody wants to begin today, if they really want to just make the smallest nourishment shift, outside, of course, of getting your book and getting that app,
Mhm.
what do you recommend that's going to really help to start creating the most momentum quickly and right away so people can get into that groove a little easier?
I say they just start to say the word nourish to
Mm.
themselves. Just say that
Oh,
word and say, "Oh, this is have everything be nourishing to themselves." Like, just
yeah.
start to look at things as nourishing. That's, like, the first step, and, like, it's the step along the way. But things will shift just because you're using that mantra as a way
Mm,
to guide yourself in life. "Oh, this is nourishing. How is it nourishing to me?" And start to ask more
mm,
questions. "Why is this nourishing to me? I did do it, so how come why is this working for me?"
mm.
And then when I get to the point where it's not working, then I can nourishingly say, "Okay, we're done with this. Let's find something else."
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. It comes right back into that awareness. It's just kind of cueing the brain
Yeah.
in. Yeah. Mm. All right. Well, before we figure out where to get all of these incredible tools that you offer, are you ready for your rapid fire questions?
Let's see what you're offering me.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, I'm
they're
doing
they're going to be great. They're going to be great. All right. All right. So the first question, what is one nourishment thing that you do that has nothing to do with food, but it is your favorite go-to?
My favorite go-to is that when something happens, I say, "Okay, this is for my greater good. What is this? Like, what's the bigger meaning in this whole thing?" So I
Mm,
look for like this huge meaning in something that's going to affect my life. So I don't get stuck in whatever that is. So I
I
was
like
like, I
that.
just don't know the rest of the story. It's really what I said. I just don't know the rest of the story, but it's going to be a good one.
I like that. I don't
Yeah,
know the rest of the story.
right. Your
Ooh,
life can change on a dime.
yeah, I love that. Okay. Question number two. What is a comfort food that you still love, but now you eat it with presence instead of punishment?
Hmm. That's a good one. I think I still like I was gonna if you asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would say pasta,
Uh-huh.
but that's not it. Um, it's not it anymore. Being in Italy and having pasta whenever I wanted, I no longer wanted it. It
Yeah.
was so interesting. So it's not that. So I think I like sandwiches because I
Mm,
like the bread aspect of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I get a feeling you like sandwiches because you are a very dynamic woman and you like to create and bring all of these possibilities into one food. Am I right?
One sandwich. Yeah, because you can
Yeah.
put anything in a sandwich. That's good.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. I feel like that is totally your personality. Okay. Question
Come
number
on,
three.
let's make a deal. Let's go. Who's got this in their pocket?
All right. Question number three. If your body sent you a text message before you actually reach for food that you know is not actually fulfilling you, what would it say to you?
Oh my gosh. Did you think of these before this, or
Of
you
course
kind
I
of on the
did.
spot?
No, I thought of these before.
That's funny. If my body sent me a text message, it would say, "Okay, have it, have what you want, and decide, and really see if you really want it, if
Mm,
that's what you really wanted."
mm, yeah. So permission and
Yeah.
then introspection.
Right, and see if
Mm,
that's what you really wanted, or
yeah.
I have this other thing that started happening to me too, like my mind would say to me, like, "Are you done with this yet? Like, I think we're done here." Like, I was eating a lot of sushi, and it
Yeah.
was, very parasitic and everything, and my brain would be like, "Okay, I think we're done with sushi.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're done here with this food."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my mind started responding to me and saying, we're good, we're done.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
now I just when it tells me that in that kind of a voice, it's an inner voice, I say, "Yeah, we're done." I answer it back,
yeah.
it's like, yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm,
Oh, Isabel, where can people find you? Where can they get their hands onto your book or books? I know you have multiple. So where
mhm.
can they get their hands onto your books and your app and all of the goods?
Okay, so my books are on Amazon, and here's the last copy of the book, which is Nourish. And I have a few other books, or you can go on, it's under Isabel, Isabel dash Chiara, CHIARA.com. And there's everything's on the website. And then the app is just under the Apple Store, and it's called Nourish. And there's a free 2 week um, period that you could use the app, and you probably could get all of it done in 2 weeks. Yeah. So that would be great. And then if they, on the show notes, we have a thing that's, I put a PDF together on 10 ways to nourish your life that they could send
Oh,
away for. We sent that to you,
yeah.
and it should be on the show notes.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, so I'm on Amazon with the books, and then I have everything on my website.
Yeah. Well, you know the deal around here. All of the links will be down in the show notes that you can easily get your hands onto them. And you can also see the book's cover so that you know when you do head on over to the link that's beside it, you can go ahead and get those books a little bit more easily.
Cool. It was
Isabel,
so
this has been
wonderful being on the show
wonderful.
with you.
Yes. Do you have any last words that you would like to lay on the hearts of the listeners for today?
Oh, I hope that everybody has an abundant, nourishing life, and just make that decision to have that for yourself and give yourself that gift because it's our divine right in life.
Mm. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your wisdom. This was beautiful, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you also. I love your work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Energy Fix. So many people are walking around looking like they have it all together, while quietly they're struggling with the way that they care for themselves behind the scenes. And what I loved so much about this conversation is that it really invites us to soften this fight with food, to listen to what we actually are needing, and to begin rebuilding this beautiful relationship with ourselves from a place of respect instead of a place of punishment. It's so important. And so, for everyone listening, if this episode stirred something in you, I hope that you can take just one nourishment step today, no matter how big or how small. Just one step. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it definitely doesn't need to be this big overhaul. Just one small moment. And ask yourself, what would actually support me right now? I will put Isabel's websites and all of her information down in the show notes so that you can easily access her and access her work. And until next time, keep spreading that beautiful energy you were born to share.